I have definitely learned over time that having certain routines and having just in general more structure in my life makes such a difference and just makes me feel so much better. I'm more productive, I'm more focused, there's less mental clutter, I'm keeping up with the things that are really important to me, and I actually move in the direction I know I want to go. And for the most part, I have become the type of person who keeps up with these kinds of routines and habits and actions, but for one reason or another, over the last month and a half or so, I definitely fell off a lot of the routines that helped me feel really good or helped me stay focused on my goals. And while I had tons of fun and did all sorts of things socially, I can definitely feel that lack of structure, and just knowing that I'm not as focused as I would like to be on my goals just doesn't feel great. So I am choosing to get back into these routines and organize my life a little bit, and decided to share what I'm doing in case you wanted to follow along and get back into routines yourself. You know, this is something we all experience. We all fall out of routines. It's just part of life. Things pop up. We're not going to be 100% with things all the time. That's just not how it goes. But getting your life together, feeling like your life is together to some extent, getting organized, having some structure in your life really makes you feel so much better. You feel more put together, you feel more confident, and you just feel really good. You feel like you're showing up for yourself. You're more in a proactive energy than a reactive energy, and you just feel differently and show up differently. So for me, getting back into a routine with things and getting back to a structure that just makes me feel really good, that includes both doing things, like specific things that make me feel like I have my life a little bit more together, as well as getting really clear on the specific actions and routines that I want to reincorporate into my life, and then creating a plan for that. So here's exactly what I'm doing. The first thing I am doing is getting clarity on and writing down the things that I want to prioritize and what I want to focus on right now. To me, it is so important to have little check-ins and take some time to think about and be aware of what it is I want to prioritize, what I want to focus on, what goals I have, who I want to be, and the type of life I want to create. Because otherwise, if we're not doing that, then we are just in a reactive energy. We're running on autopilot and just kind of letting life happen to us and letting life take us wherever. And the idea of that is just a hard pass for me. Like, no, thank you. So I think if we really want to feel our best, if we want to create a life that's very, fulfilling for us and that we feel good in, and that doesn't have to be anything, extreme or extravagant, but being intentional really makes such a difference. And getting clarity on what that actually looks like for you. What things make me feel good? What kind of person do I want to show up as? What goals do I have? And then getting clear on the different routines and habits and actions and structures that actually help that become your life. Making sure to incorporate the things in my life that make me feel my best, not only physically and mentally, but also including the things that really fulfill me. Right? And that's just not going to happen if we're just not being intentional and just letting life happen however it happens. So the first thing that I am doing, just for clarity and direction, is getting clear on what I want to prioritize and focus on right now, and actually writing them down so that I can easily reference them and come back to them. And for me, I clarified my priorities as number 1, showing up as the version of myself that I want to be. Number 2, providing a great service in my health and fitness coaching business. Number 3, YouTube. And number 4, self-nourishment, and everything that I would put under that umbrella. So now that I have a clarity around that and feel good about that, and it's just kind of helping my brain realize, where I want it to focus. Next, I'm going to write down the specific actions or routines that I want to incorporate or reincorporate that support those priorities. And I'm writing these down in a Notion template because I feel like for my brain, having a visual to actually look at instead of just having random thought bubbles in my head just makes it so much clearer for my brain to conceptualize, and there's just more clarity around it, and it's something that I can so easily go back and reference. Now, obviously, in doing this, your list could end up being endless, but trying to do too many things at once, trying to reincorporate too many things at once, sometimes doesn't set us up for success, even if our brains are like, yeah, no, of course I can do all these things. I want to do all these things. So if you're more like me, where there are routines that you already had and you are just looking to get yourself back in the groove, maybe your list is a little bit longer, but if you're in a place where you're trying to incorporate new things, get into a new routine or specific, new actions or habits, I would highly recommend trying to aim for like 2 to 4 or 5, making those your priority. And if you really want to, you can make a longer list. But know that those are your priority. Those are the things you are really focusing on getting yourself to do. And the rest is just awesome extra, right? So you can think about it in terms of what is the most important to you right now, like what is the thing that you want to prioritize the most. Or you can also think in terms of what's going to have the highest ROI, what's going to make the biggest difference in my life, right? What's going to have the greatest domino effect. So for example, for me, the biggest thing is definitely refocusing and carving out specific time to be focused on specific tasks or goals of mine. So that's my big main thing that I know will make the biggest difference for me, is incorporating back a routine where once a week I sit there and schedule out my week, make a little bit of a plan, maybe do some reflection, and then schedule out and block time within my week to do certain things. But here are the very specific things that I know I want to get back to. And this may look like a crazy list, but these are all things I already was doing. I just, lost focus, fell out of the routines. So we're getting back into them. And then I'm getting really clear on the when, where, and how I'm actually doing these things, right? If I just leave it as this list of, oh, these are the things I want to do, odds are they're going to get missed. They're going to be forgotten about. I'm going to go through my days and not do most of them, if any of them. So for a lot of things, I know for me, actually scheduling them and putting them in my calendar is extremely helpful. I also use this Notion template where it lists out all the days, and I can go in and write out, okay, here are the specific tasks that I know I want to do or prioritize on these days. It's also super helpful to anchor some of these things to other things that you are already doing, or anchoring them all together in like a morning routine or evening routine. So for example, I like to journal while I drink my morning coffee, or I'm going to read right before bed, right? These actions have somewhat of a dedicated time, and maybe that changes over time. Things can, it's flexible. But at least having that idea of when I'm going to do this thing makes it so much more likely that I'm going to. And 2 things that I know I want to refocus back on are a new morning routine and a new evening routine. And I can be a bit forgetful, so I can easily think of, okay, these are the specific things I want to do in my morning routine, and these are the specific things I want to do in my evening routine. But odds are I'm going to forget half of those things, or, end up just floating back to what I normally do. So what I find can be really helpful for me is to actually, again, write them down, and I keep them in a Notion template. And that way, when I wake up in the morning, I know that I'm wanting to get into a new morning routine. So I can go and just open that up, and boom, I have the list of the specific things I want to do right there. So easy. I'm asking way less of my brain. So now that I've gotten clear on things and I've done some of the planning and I've written it all out so I can easily reference back at some point, I'm going to go take action immediately. It can feel so good and so motivating to do all the planning and the organizing and thinking about all the things that we're going to do. But we all know the real magic and where we actually get the benefits is actually doing the thing. And I have found it is so great to actually just immediately go do 1 to 2 things that fall under this list of feeling like life is more organized, feeling like I have my life together, or getting back into the types of actions I am aiming to get back into, doing that as immediately as possible. This can help get the ball rolling in the direction we want it to. And I have noticed for myself that once I actually do some of these things, I just immediately feel better. So I'm going to go ahead and do some meal prepping. I'm going to do some chores around the house and a little workout, and that will just feel like such a nice little reset. Now, this was all really about getting back into things, getting back into routines and taking those first few steps. But obviously, the idea is to actually keep up with these things as well. And that can be a sticky part for a lot of us. So if that's something that you know you struggle a little bit more with, I highly recommend checking out a few of my other videos. I will link them up above as well in the description below. But to at least touch on a couple things, one thing that is extremely helpful to do is go and look at your list of actions. And for the ones that are your main priority ones, create some kind of plan B or bare minimum, right? You're creating a backup plan for, okay, if I don't do this thing, if I just really don't feel like it, if I don't feel like I have the time, what is the thing I'm going to at least do? Like maybe I don't feel like I have the time for a 20-minute guided meditation, but if I don't do that, I am at least going to deep breathe for 5 minutes. If for one reason or another, I just can't get myself to do a full journaling session, I am at least going to write down 3 things from my day that I really enjoyed. So I highly recommend setting some kind of plan B or bare minimums. And sometimes doing the same thing every day can feel a little bit boring. It's not the most exciting thing. And we also wake up feeling a little bit differently every day. So something that I have played around with and I really enjoyed is creating a menu of sorts for certain things. So for me, for example, under my morning routine and my evening routine, I have a couple very specific things that I want to do every morning and every evening. But I also have a few things where it's a menu. Like, okay, here are 3 to 4 things to choose from, and I just get to pick whatever appeals to me the most that day. Or for example, let's say a goal is to do 30 minutes of movement every day outside of your very structured workouts. Maybe you have a menu of things like walking or biking or like yoga or Pilates or some kind of mobility. And that's your menu, and you get to pick whichever just appeals to you the most that day. There's also the conversation around identity. You know, the more that you can see yourself as and tell yourself, oh, I am the type of person who does X, that's just who I am now, the more likely you are to continue to do that thing or continue to take action that is in alignment with that. Tracking actions or habits can be so helpful for accountability and helping yourself actually keep up with things if that's your thing. And those really good feelings we can get from that feeling of starting over or hitting a reset button or that fresh start is a scientifically recognized phenomenon. That is a real thing. So we can use that to our advantage. You can trick your brain or tell yourself that you are starting over or resetting or refreshing every single week. And maybe that helps you feel more excited about it all or feel more motivated or just stay focused. So having some kind of routine around that every single week or month can be super helpful, and nothing even really needs to change, but that mindset alone can really help us refocus and keep up with things. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. The last thing I'll say is make sure to make it fun, right? We don't need to have like a, oh, I just need to make myself do this thing type of perspective around it. Make it fun. See it as fun. Maybe put on some music. Make it a vibe. You know, this is something we're doing for ourselves to help us feel good. That's the whole purpose of all of this. But thanks so much for being here. Thanks for hanging out, and I hope to see you in another video. Bye.